You ever walk into a place you own like, literally built from the ground up and get told you can't stand there? This area is for executives only. Yeah, that actually happened to me, and it never gets less surreal. The words came slicing through the air from behind a marble desk, that sterile kind of lobby with so much glass you almost see yourself disappear, and this receptionist, Becky, never even glanced up from her tablet. Didn't ask my name, didn't care what I was doing in my own building. All she saw was a black woman in a crisp white suit, probably a law sales rep or, hell, maybe someone delivering lunch. You know what I mean? But I stood there, didn't flinch, didn't say a word, just letting my eyes drift over the chrome elevators, the echo of high heels on marble, the smug little club that had convinced themselves they were the only ones that mattered. 10 years ago, this company was circling the drain investors running for the exits, layoffs every month, and the old guard so scared of losing power, they wouldn't even change the coffee. I walked in with nothing but a PowerPoint and a plan, built trust brick by brick, and closed deals everyone else said were impossible. I played chess while they played office politics. And maybe I didn't look like the CEO they pictured, but I was the reason this company even had a lobby left to stand in. And here's the funny thing, maybe not haha funny, but you get it higher I rose, the less they seemed to see me. Not because I was silent, but because my skin and my gender didn't match their mental checklist of boss. Whispers behind closed doors, she's a figurehead, right? Hired for the optics. Doesn't even act like a CEO, as if the real work was all about strutting and shouting. I didn't need to act, I just led, and results always speak for themselves, whether or not anyone's listening. But, see, the reason I showed up today, unannounced, wasn't for the spectacle. It was because the emails piling up on my desk started smelling rotten. Patterns people's ideas dismissed in meetings, promotions skipping the same faces, complaint forms redirected to nowhere, that creeping rot of culture turning exclusion into policy. And Becky, at her desk, didn't know it yet, but she was just the first domino about to fall. She got a little louder, told me again it was VIP only, just in case I didn't catch it the first time, and a couple of folks walking by gave me that half-laugh, half-pity look. I let it go for another beat, then pulled out my phone. One button, encrypted app, and the clock started ticking for everyone in that building who'd ever thought power only looked one way. 60 seconds later, that whole place shifted. Heads snapped up, phones buzzed, every department head and regional director pinged with a single urgent alert emergency board meeting, 9th floor now. Even a guy from accounting dropped his coffee. Becky was still clueless, threatened to call security, but I just smiled, walked straight to the elevator, pressed my thumb to the biometric panel, and let the green light do the talking. Her jaw dropped, and in that moment I looked back and said, "Next time, ask before you assume." You could have heard a pin drop. When those doors slid open on the 9th floor, it was like stepping into a fish tank full of nervous sharks. The so-called leadership team, all men, all suits, all practiced at the poker, face looked up in a mix of confusion and dread. Some tried to play it cool, straightening ties, others avoided my eyes. The whispers died instantly. They realized, in that instant, that the person they dismissed over and over was here to settle accounts. What they didn't know was that I'd been collecting receipts for months. My IT team, tight as a drum, NDA locked, brought the evidence clips, emails, audio, the whole ugly truth. I put my bag on the table, picked up the remote, and just clicked. Not a spreadsheet, not a bar chart. Footage, real people, real words. One VP, laughing about not hiring another diversity project. Another exec, blocking a black woman's promotion because she doesn't fit the culture. Becky, on camera, mocking wannabe CEOs right there at the front desk. It went dead quiet. Grown men who'd spent their lives barking orders just shrank into their seats. A couple started sweating, one fiddled with his ring, another coughed. And that's when I told them, "You tried to lock me out of my own company. Now watch what happens when the door swings the other way." You know, it didn't even feel like a confrontation. It felt like gravity, inevitable, and not one person dared to interrupt. I didn't need to raise my voice. Turns out, when you quietly own 51% of the company, through a silent holding I built back in the day, you don't need to shout. There's a clause, buried deep in the charter, giving me the authority to clean house when the company's in crisis. And today, crisis looked like the faces sitting around that table. So I opened a folder already filled with signed termination letters. Read them out, one by one. Each name a thunderclap: Robert Langston, head of finance; Karen Wells, HR; Martin Avery, operations. No drama, no grandstanding, just security stepping in. Come as you please, boxes for belongings, escort to the door. They'd spent years making people invisible. I gave them a taste of what it's like to be unseen by the one person who really mattered. 15 minutes, a dozen chairs empty. I took my seat at the head, crossed my legs, and said, let's rebuild this company the right way. But I wasn't done yet. I flipped the screen again, showing more of the ugly stuff swept under the rug, like two execs joking about a candidate's weird name or emails with subject lines like too many loud voices on the floor. She doesn't fit the executive look. I let it run. No commentary, no drama, just facts. And I watched the people who'd call me a token start to realize this was their reckoning. A twist in all this? One recording private, but not private enough. Senior VP saying, if Vanessa ever pulls rank, remind her she's here for the headline. It wasn't a surprise. I already knew how deep the rot went, but hearing it out loud, seeing their faces as the words played, drove it home. Power doesn't shout, it acts, and I let the silence do its work. Then I did the last thing they expected, looked each one in the eye, and told them, simply, you knew exactly what you were doing. You chose not to see. That's why you're out. No revenge, no gloating, just order restored. And that's what happens when you let a company rot from the inside and think no one at the top's watching. Meanwhile, the lobby downstairs was humming with rumor assistants whispering, security nervously checking their earpieces, and Becky glued to her screen. She saw Amy's name on the internal chat, assumed emergency control of executive operations. Her fingers froze. I could almost see the realization hit her like a truck. When the elevator doors opened and I walked out, flanked by two board members, Becky jumped up, stammering, MS. More. Two didn't realize I look her in the eye. No anger, no ego, just that quiet calm. You didn't ask. You assumed. She started to cry, apologize, but I stopped her. I'm not here to punish you. I'm here to fix what made you think you had that right. Pulled out an envelope equity advancement training. A second chance, not a termination. She was shocked, but I meant it. Growth matters more than guilt. What you do after this moment defines you. Because leadership isn't about humiliating people. It's about changing the system, making sure the next woman who walks into her own building gets seen for who she really is. And you want to know what happened after that? The lobby went quiet. Not out of fear, out of respect. Maybe even out of hope. That's what justice looks like, right? Not just removing the bad, but building something better. So, what would you have done if you were in my shoes? Is calling people out enough? Or does real change take more than firing a few execs? Let me know what you think, because if you ask me, the real work starts the moment the cameras turn off and the silence is yours to fill.